What's going on, everybody? This is your boy Man Up here coming at you with a video here. This one here is, the Houston Texans versus, excuse me, sorry about that, Houston Texans versus the Atlanta Falcons after the game. Now, I want to get something straight here real quick before I get into my thoughts of the game. I called in on us Huncho Saw Sports, and I basically said a couple of things that people didn't agree with me with. Don't care. I have my opinion. You don't like it? Oh, well. Not everybody's going to like your opinion. It is what it is. Now, what I said was, I love how the Deshaun Watson, go for the big plays and it all works out and stuff like that. I love it. But with him holding on to the ball, that caused him to get sacked a lot. Now, against the Atlanta Falcons, he did not get sacked, not once. He didn't throw any interceptions. He only had 5 incompletions. And he did dump the ball down in the flat a lot, and the receivers made big plays for him. Yes, he did go for big plays as well, too. But he dumped it down in the flat a lot. You know what I'm saying? And that helps keep the defense off of you. If you don't believe me, go back and watch the game. You'll see what I'm talking about. He dumped it down to Hopkins a few times. That was like 5, 6, 7 yards deep. And Hopkins was run for big plays. He dumped down to Will Fuller. He dumped down to his tight end, Jordan Akins. He dumped it down to a lot of people in the flat. And yes, he did have big plays as well, too. But all I'm saying is, dump it down. They keep the defense off of you. See what I'm saying? I know a lot of people are going to say, well, that's the Atlanta Falcons. At the time, they were 1-3. Well, now we beat them. They 1-4. But before the game started, they were 1-3. And their defense is not that good. That may be true and all. Excuse me there. That might be true and all. But at the same time, what I said needs to be done. It was done, and it seems to work. We're going to see if it works next Sunday against the Chiefs, but we'll see. Don't know exactly how this is going to work out. Now, second thing that I said that really got people riled up, I said, well, it was the fire Bill O'Brien chance at. Now, when I said that, this is what I'm saying. I'm not for firing a coach, and I'm not against firing a coach. It is what it is, in my opinion. If you get fired, if you don't get fired, it is what it is. Firing a coach is not always the answer. Don't believe me? Look at the Cincinnati Bengals. They fired Marvin Lewis. And they right now were 0-5. 0-4 or 0-5, one of the two. So, it doesn't always work out. Excuse me, sorry. Excuse me. It doesn't always work out like we, the fans, want it to, if that makes sense. So, what I am saying is this here. Just because a coach might be making bad decisions, fire him is not always the best option. I'm not saying that he should stay. I'm not saying he should go. Now, excuse me. Now, I'm going to go ahead and get into stats of the game. Now, when we played the Atlanta Falcons, we beat them 53-32. Now, they scored 32 points on us, so our defense didn't do too bad, but they didn't do too good either, because we got 3 sacks, I think. We got an interception that ran all the way back for a touchdown. We got a forced fumble. So our defense played good, but allowing 32 points, it's not good. So it's good, but it's not good, if that makes sense how I'm putting it. Now, Deshaun Watson was 28 for 33 for 426 yards and 5 touchdowns. And again, 0 interceptions. And I'm going to stick to this number until it changes. So far this season, excuse me, sorry. So far this season, 1 pick. Only 1. 1 interception. And that's good. Now, Carlos Hyde rushed for 60 yards and 1 touchdown. See, our rushing was pretty good. Carlos Hyde rushed for 60 yards. Duke Johnson rushed for 59 yards. And Deshaun Watson rushed for 47. So let's take the quarterback off. That's 119 yards that was rushed without the quarterback, 47 yards. So that's pretty damn good. You know what I'm saying? That's what I like. Now, in the passing game, we all know Will Fuller went off 217 yards and he got 3 touchdowns. And Fells, tight end, got 2 touchdowns. 20 yards, 2 touchdowns. See what I'm saying? So when Hopkins had 7 receptions for 88 yards, Kiki QT had 72 yards, Jordan Akins had 21 yards, and Duke Johnson had 8 yards. So our passing game was pretty damn good. Now, I know you're going to say this is the Atlanta Falcons, but I'm not tripping on that. I'm saying if we can have this kind of production, something similar like this every game, we're going to be set up to win these games. It's going to be hard to beat us. See what I'm saying? And then DJ Reader had a sack. JJ Watt had a sack. So we did pretty good with this here. Excuse me. And then, like I said, Mac Ryan, he threw for, he had threw for 3 touchdowns, but he had 1 pick. So, and that 1 pick that he threw, we ran all the way back for a touchdown. So I'm loving, you know what I'm saying, how we played the game. That was great. Now, I did have us losing this game in my prediction, but I did say Matt Ryan is not the quarterback he used to be. I did say that. So it is what it is. Now, with that being said, though, if we can get this kind of production for my team every week, it's going to be hard to beat us. We might not get beat. Now, I know we're not going to put up 53 points on everybody. I know we're not going to have this kind of game against everybody. It is what it is. So, with that being said, though, once again, I'm going to go back to what I was saying about Bill O'Brien. I'm not for firing him, and I'm not against firing him. It is what it is. If he goes, fine. If he stays, fine. But it's not always an option, a good idea, I should say. It's not always a good idea to fire your coach. Like I just said, look at the Browns, as a matter of fact, too. And look at the Bengals. They fired their coach, and they both of them not doing too good. And when the Browns fired their coach in the middle of last season, they started winning games like crazy. But now look at them. The Bengals fired Marvin Lewis, and now they're 0-5. So what I'm basically saying is this here: it's not all just because things are not going the way we wanted to as fans. Firing the coach is not always the right answer. It's not. You know what I'm saying? So if he gets fired, he gets fired. If he don't, he don't. Excuse me. If he don't, he don't. Now, I did notice he was not calling the offensive plays. And I have noticed that when he don't call offensive plays, we go crazy on him. We go crazy. You know what I'm saying? We play good, real good. Whether we win the game or not, we play good. Because I think it was the Saints when he didn't call the offensive plays. And we were this close to beating them. Now, I know we lost, but we was this close to beating them. So that's all I'm saying right there. If we sit here and we always talk about fire coach, guess what's going to end up happening? 9 times out of 10, when a coach comes in, he's going to want his own people. For example, when Bill O'Brien came in, he didn't keep out the defensive coordinator we had at the time. I can't think of his name right now. He's right now with the Rams, Wade Phillips. He didn't keep Wade Phillips, who is a great defensive coordinator. He didn't keep him. He wanted his own people. And a lot of times coaches want their own players. Like when he came in, he bringing in people from the Patriots. He just like you know what I'm saying. A lot of coaches do that. So they want their own personnel, they want their own players, they want their own schemes, and if another coach come in 9 times out of 10, he's going to do that too, and it's going to take time for that, you know what I'm saying, to develop. See what I'm saying? So it's not always a good idea. And I'm not saying fire him, and I'm not saying don't fire him. All I'm saying is just don't be quick to talk about firing him when we lose. Because, see, When I said that before I called in, if you go back and watch that video on Salt Sports with Ed Huncho, before I called in, excuse me, and I called in, let me for excuse me, sorry, and I called in, if you go back and look at the point before the point I called in, it was 53 minutes and 48 seconds when I called in. Go back and look at the chat, listen to all the other phone calls. Nobody said fire Bill O'Brien because we won. But as soon as we lose, that's the first thing people say, fire Bill O'Brien. All I said was, where's those chants at now? Because if you think about it, excuse me, sorry. If you think about it, that's not always the right thing to do. Now, I did say this, and I'm going to stick to it. If we don't make the AFC, if the Texans don't make the AFC Championship game, 9 times out of 10, the Texans will let him go. It is what it is. But don't always assume just because we losing, he should go. Now, I'm not saying, like I said before, and I'm going to say it again, I'm not saying fire him. I'm not saying don't fire him. But just don't be quick to jump to that gun, my personal opinion. Now, once again, I'm going to reiterate, if the Texans finish at least 11-5, see that Texans mini helmet right there? I'm going to have a giveaway. But they have to finish 11-5 or better. And right now, we're sitting at 3-2. Got the Kansas City Chiefs coming up next. Gotta wait to see what happened with that. Now, with all that being said, I am going to go ahead and get up out of here. This is your boy Man Up. You was in the man cave. Now I'm finna kick you out the man cave. Chunk the deuce at you. I holla.